I can give you a testimony. I remember when I lived in New York with my husband, and then I wanted to move to the Cape, and I was hard headed, and I want to move, and he didn't like it because he liked being in the city. And then eventually, I I moved, and then I forced him to move, and for about a year we've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that is because I didn't submit to my husband. I made a decision behind his back, and now I had to deal with the consequence of that decision that I had made, so hey, it's your girl Janielle Henningham,
and Marsha,
and welcome to
Let's
Chat. So today's topic will be about submission. It's a big one, huh? Marsha, what does the dictionary says about submission?
Okay, so if I can remember correctly, the dictionary states that submission is to accept authority, like willingly accept authority. So it could be by law, by it's not by force.
From a higher power.
Yeah, from a higher power, like for the police officer, the speed limit, whatever. That's what the dictionary states about.
But we're not going to talk about that submission today. We're talking about submitting to your husband. So, submitting to your husband, it's a tricky topic because a lot of women feel like submitting to a man is olden days etiquette, or they just feel like, no, now we are independent. We have our own money, our own career, so we do not need to submit to a man. So, what do you think about that, Marsha?
I don't think it's basically because we have our own careers or whatever. I feel like as the time goes by, like 21st, right now is the 21st century,
yeah.
And like everything changed. So woman is a prime minister now, woman preaches at church, woman does everything. But I feel like you can't go beyond what God said and said, oh, it's the 21st century, so we're not supposed to submit to her.
And you know what? And you know what, though, Marsha, what I find interesting is that when women get themselves in certain situation, they cry out, right? And all right, for instance, like women go to war, they would like different treatment, but they're stepping into a man's territory, right? And it's just like certain things that women cry out for, but they're asking for this big independence. Like, oh, I don't want to be, I don't want to have to report to anybody. I want to be independent. But when they get themselves into a certain situation, they look, they're like, oh, I'm a female.
You're a female, yeah. Just like if, like, say you go out, you buy a big bedroom set, you buy a dresser, you buy a mirror. You know, lift you up yourself, you call your husband to come lift you up.
Exactly.
Because they are the head of the house, regardless of whatever people might say nowadays. Men will forever be the head of the house. But not because men is the head of the house mean that they can misuse their authority and get what they want. So even though they're the head of the house, they have to be respectful. Because as the Bible says, if I can remember correctly, Ephesians 5 verse 33 says, a man should love his wife, and a woman should respect her husband. It doesn't mean that a man should respect his wife, but basically it's saying that love and respect goes hand in hand. So if there's no respect in there's no love at all.
Exactly. And God said it that way for a reason. Listen, a man should love their wife, and a woman should respect their husband. You see, now a woman is delicate. We need some love, right? Right? So love us. Don't expect us to get battered and beat and thrown aside and disrespect us and then ask us to submit to you. What are we going to submit to? Now, you as the man, you have to create a space. You have to create that. What would you call it, Marsha? know what word to use now, but you have to create that thing that we can admire and just
Yeah.
want to love and just want to submit to.
Exactly. Just like how they said, like, man gives and woman receives, right? So a man will give his sperm and a woman will get the baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's biblical. Like, we're not saying anything that we shouldn't say here. It's true. Like, a woman, if a man come home and he treated nice, you're gonna want to submit to him. But if he come in
Mm-hmm.
and he do all kind of something where you're not approve of, you're not gonna want to submit to him.
Mm-hmm. And ladies, submission goes hand in hand with communication too,
Mm-hmm.
because I can give you a testimony. I remember when I lived in New York with my husband, and then I wanted to move to the Cape, and I was hard-headed, and I want to move, and he didn't like it because he liked being in the city. And then eventually, I moved, and then I forced him to move, and for about a year we've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that is because I didn't submit to my husband. I made a decision behind his back, and now I had to deal with the consequence of that decision that I had made, so communication and submission go hand in hand. But guys, to be submissive to a man have to create a space for you to be sub a space for you to submit, something to submit to. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He has to give you like like anything in life. Like, if you feel motivated, if people are like putting in effort, right? So if they're doing something that you're not approve of, or say they did something, either way, it's, if you don't communicate about it, it's gonna, like, tomorrow, like, you're good today, and then tomorrow you're gonna bring it up back. If something else happened, it's gonna build and build and build and build until it's just gonna be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's gonna be hard to fix. So you have to communicate. I feel like I love to communicate. I'm the one in my marriage that is,
Are you submissive?
well, not all the time.
I got her on the spot. Come on, Sister Marsha. Are you submissive? Are you submissive? Why?
Well, I must admit, not all the time. Sometimes I feel like, like some, not like big arguments or whatever, but sometimes you have misunderstanding, and you have like poor communication, and then it leads to like, me not talk to you, like high school picnic.
Yeah.
And then you just, like, you use that part as a spite, just like how they use their authority as a misuse their authority to get what they want. You can misuse yourself to get what you want.
We do misuse it, but we're not supposed.
We're not
to.
supposed to. So
Ephesians 5 verse 22, it said, "Wives, submit to your husband, right, as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the
house."
Oh yes. For the husband is the head of the house, as Christ is the head of the church. But don't get it twisted, husband, because God said, love your wife as Christ loved the church. So you see, it goes hands in hand. Listen, God created Adam, right? So he said in the beginning, and then he take a rib from Adam and created Eve. And then he bound them together, and they were married, and they were in one accord, right? And check this out. Eve eat that apple, right? Right? And then Adam got tricked into it. Poor communication. So you see, husband, if you mess yourself up, you mess your wife up. Wife, if you mess yourself up, you mess your husband up. So you guys have to be one in accord. Yep, one accord, and you guys have to communicate.
Communication is the key to any relationship, to be honest. It doesn't have to be a spouse or whatever. It could be family, it could be friends,
Your job.
anyone.
It's
everything.
And that was ordained by God. That's how it's supposed to be. And now we independent women, we can buy our own home. We can buy our own car. But the truth is, when you lay in that bed or in that mansion at the end of the day, like, how do you feel? How do you feel? And I'm not saying like just run after a man, because sometimes, you bring some evil into your life. So just be careful. Be careful. Yeah, right, Marsha? Sometimes you bring some evil into your life. You have to be careful who you let into your circle, into your space.
That's very true. And so even though a man is the head of the house and a woman should submit to their spouses and whatever, there's nowhere in the Bible that says there's anyone is more important than anyone. We're both, we have different roles. If you read like different scriptures in the Bible, it shows you that woman has a different role and a man has a separate role. But if you work together as a team, you can make dreams and magic, right? Because a lot of
together is, to me, together is a win-win. Together is a win. Whenever my husband and I is working against each other, trust me, everything just but together it's a win-win. I can tell you, just try it. Just try it. And I know a lot of marriage out there have a lot of struggle in it. You know, I know a lot of women go through a lot. And men too. I don't wanna be and men too, and you know, physical stuff, verbal, you know. You guys know what I'm talking about. So it's really hard to submit to that, but pray and ask God. That's why in the beginning of the relationship you should be very careful who you let into your life. Because when you marry someone, sometimes God lets you deal with your own battle, especially when you didn't consult God. Right?
Yeah, that's true. And then if you have like arguments and you don't know how to like fix them, you're gonna, like, some people get physical because you don't communicate. You have to communicate. Sometimes, what I say, you have to just turn the other cheek. Like, you're not gonna always hear what you want to hear. Sometimes you just have to know that that's how life is.
When you said that, I remember. So my husband, like, we get into it, like little stuff, but we get into it, and some days I have the upper hand, and the other day he have the upper hand. So the other day we got into this thing, and he had the upper hand, and he was saying this, and he was just saying some stuff that just, I was like, oh, I want to pull my hair, and I'm like, stop. It was just annoying, but I didn't say anything. I was like, oh, God help me. And then he looked at me and said, you see you? If you had the upper hand, you would see how you go on. But now, because you know that I have the upper hand, you're being quiet, huh? And then he said, maybe this is how we should do it. You know, maybe this is how we should do it. Instead of you cursing or getting angry if I said something that you don't like, you just like kind of blow it off or whatever. And trust me, at the end of the day, we were like this. Just because I didn't answer.
You didn't. Yes.
Just because I didn't answer.
Sometimes
it's
best to just.
Sometimes it's best to just.
Yeah, they said what is it? A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words.
Says the Bible.
You see, if you read the Bible and abide by it, you can never go wrong.
Preach it, Marsha.
Because it tells us everything. It shows us, like, it's a map. It's a map to show you where to go, how to live your life.
Oh, glory.
But it's true. Like, as the older I get, I realize that everything the Bible says it fulfills. There's nothing that the Bible says that's incorrect, or there's nothing that you can follow that the Bible says that it's going to put you in a deep hole. You know, like, it's always going to try to lift you up no matter how you take it. So I feel like marriage was designed by God. Even though, like, you know, like, marriage some people say marriage they don't want to commit, they don't want this, they don't want that. Even though men will live with a woman for 20 years, 30 years, and they will not commit to them, because they must say, when you're married, like, only Jamaican people still. When you're married,
well, not just Jamaican people.
Not just Jamaican, but Caribbean people, to be honest with you.
That's our culture, so we're just gonna give you, what we know.
So they would say, oh, when you're married, devil take you, or you ever hear about that yet? And they must say, when you're married, this take you, that take you, that.
But you know what, Marsha, I'm not cutting you, but guys, check this out. That's true. When you get married, it's like a host of burden came down. It's just like overwhelming. Yeah. And you know why? Because marriage was designed by God. And now when you're married, it's like right in God's sight. You're bringing kids in God. You're creating your children in God's sight and all that. The devil doesn't like that. So no, the devil doesn't like family, like to break it apart. So that's why marriage, I feel like, go through all the struggle and tests.
It does. It really does. Because you know how they say, like, when you're married, like, no woman never want the man, until you're married to him, until you pick him up. For sure, like, there's just temptation, like, and then he said, she said that, and if you don't stand tall and, and say, like, I'm abiding by God's rule, I'm doing the right thing, I'm not worried, I'm just gonna go on my knees and pray. Like, some people don't do that. They just, Like, as soon as they hear something, they say, "Oh yeah, I say go for you," which sometimes that's not the case. And I'm not saying that all situations are like that, but most times the devil tries to any way he can take it, left, right, center, backward or forward, he might take it. So you just have to be mindful about decisions when you're making decisions. Not because when your spouse have like one little problem, you go run and say, "Oh, I'm ready for divorce."
Because you know when you have a marriage that comes off like that, it's the foundation of the marriage. So now these days people just marry, and the truth is that's not how it's supposed to be. You can't just say, "Oh, that girl is pretty. Oh, she shaped so nice. Oh, look at that guy, he's so handsome. Ooh, a lot of abs. Ooh, we getting married." No, it's not like that. Because first of all, you don't even know that person until you live with. You can live with someone up. You could.
You can date someone for years and then you never live with them and you just don't know how they say. And then when you start live with them, you just find out peace, yourself, peace, this. Then you realize that your whole relationship was set on a lie. So how are you gonna move forward? No matter where you take it, how you go, your relationship was on a lie. So it's gonna keep on building on a lie. And it's hard. It's gonna be harder. That's why I believe that people should get counseling before they get married. People should seek God before they get married. And
Master, let me ask you this though. Do you think, like, if you get cheated on, should you still submit to your husband?